Hello, welcome to my channel. I'm Tiffany, retired librarian turned homeschool mom. And in this video, we're going to look at a book in the Dear America series, which is a series of historical fiction books written in diary format. So this is I Thought My Soul Would Rise and Fly, the diary of Patsy, a freed girl, in Mars Bluff, South Carolina, 1865. So this is about 10 years after Marie Grace's books take place. So this is right after Congress has ratified, well, the states have, and Congress has passed the 18th Amendment, which abolishes slavery in the United States. So it's interesting because a lot of the slaves, now former slaves, don't know what to do. They've been slaves their entire lives. They have no clue what to do. Some of them do, in fact, leave to go find their families. Patsy doesn't know who her family is. One of the girls, Patsy works in the house. So at the time the story starts, she's working as a nanny to it's either the master or mistress's niece and nephew. And through the children's play and their play with Patsy, Patsy learned to read because they were playing school. But of course, her owners can't know. Her former owners can't know because she'd get in trouble. I mean, there are still laws in place saying they can't learn to read. But essentially, it starts off with her you getting to know that she knows how to read. But then a soldier comes from the Union Army. So also remember that this is right at the end of the American Civil War. South Carolina and most of the South would have still been occupied by the Union Army. So they come to tell the blacks that they're free, and that essentially the master comes out and calls everybody together and it's like, now I have to pay you. So, and essentially he's going to pay them very, very little. And so some of them do in fact leave, but they also demand of him, of their master, that, okay, you need to pay us this amount. You need to provide us with a school and a teacher. And I think they asked for one more thing, and I can't remember what the heck it was. And that's important. So I have no idea what's bounding at my door. It's probably a cat. But nonetheless, it goes through what goes on and how some do in fact leave. Some don't know what to do. I think eventually the cook leaves. So various different things go on. So she eventually ends up having to do a lot more of the housework because the children leave that she's tutoring. Then they keep trying to bring in a teacher. They have a Reverend Harry McNeil who's trying to essentially bring them together and get these people to get educated. But eventually what happens is Patsy starts teaching. So she's teaching the adults. She's teaching the children on the plantation how to read. But also you have various different people leaving. One of the young girls at the house, his mother shows up, but this young little slave girl doesn't remember her mother because she was taken away when she was a baby. And she refuses to go with her. Eventually the mother tries to go to the courts and get her child, but the courts side with the white people because this little girl does not remember her. So she stays. Patsy doesn't know who her family is. She eventually tries, I think she asks, and most of the people's like, we don't know. You were brought in by the master with a bunch of men, and we have no clue who the heck your parents are. We know the guy who was carrying you was not your father, but we do not know where you came from. So throughout this, they're learning about various different people leaving, like the masters. I'm like trying to remember exactly what the equivalent. Essentially, he's his manservant. This is the guy who has been dressing the master, since the master was young, he was given to the plantation owners, the plantation over when he was a young man by his own father. The plantation owner actually does end up dying. He gets sick and died, particularly since a lot of his slaves are leaving. And this is a cotton plantation. So different than a sugar plantation and a few others. But so this is a cotton plantation. And yeah, various ones leave. The ones who stay demand that the master promise them a school and a few other things that never end up happening. So at the end of the story, the missus is alone. She doesn't have children. It's never mentioned that she has children. But I do think one of her sisters-in-law comes to stay with her. But they leave. At the end of the story, it's Patsy and the rest of the slaves leave. And so, except for the much older ones. The mistress asks why. It's like, you promised us a school. You promised us this money, and you never gave it. We're leaving. So they, at the end of the story, Patsy goes with a bunch of the rest of the slaves and leave. They form their own town, and eventually they get a school. They bring, one of the slaves had been going to visit his daughter in one of the nearby towns. So, and she'd been going to school, and she's brought to teach the children. She recognizes Patsy and Patsy's intelligence, so they get together and pay for her to go to school, and she ends up coming back and staying in the community, and she teaches. And I don't know if this is about a real person. I don't think so. I think this is fictional. I do think the town is real. Because they do have historical, similar to the American Girl doll books, they have historical stuff in the back. In fact, they have a picture here. This is Phyllis Wheatley. Or is it White? Yeah. Phyllis Wheatley was an enslaved black who was taught to read, and she became one of the first poets. I think she died before the American Civil War started, because this is 1761. So this was before that. But yeah, she, Libertyville is the town they mentioned. So let's see if this girl was real. I don't think she is, because I think these are pretty much entirely historically fiction. But yeah, it talks about American history at the end. I do enjoy these books because they're a good way, similar to the American Girl books, they give children a chance to read a story in a child's own words. Because I think Patsy's like 13 or 14. Though it doesn't really mention her age, probably because she wouldn't have known it. Because they didn't know birthdays. And they didn't know when, well, some of them might have known when they were born. Not all of them, obviously. Patsy didn't, because she didn't know where she came from. And nobody on the plantation knew where the heck she came from. She came, with a bunch of men. She was sick. She was at first nursed by the cook, then taken back to the houses, but then she remained sick. She was brought back to the cook and nursed back, and she was at the house living with the cook and the maids the rest of her life. Well, at least until she left with the rest of the slaves that had been freed. So it's an interesting, again, I'm very fond of these books. I did read, I think, one of the Civil War diaries and one of the Jewish Girl diaries when I was the appropriate age. And I still do, in fact, enjoy them. I bought a bunch of these that I didn't already own at the VNSA book sale last month. I'm filming this in March. It's early March. So, nonetheless, it's a great look into what happens right after slavery officially ends. Because again, some people know what to do, some don't. It takes about maybe 6 months to a year before the rest of these slaves leave, because they're not getting what they want, except for the elderly ones, because they don't know any other life. So, and they're too old to start over. So it is very, very interesting. So this, again, they're also written in diary format. So that's one of the other things. As someone who's dyslexic, this is an easier format for somebody like me to read because it's cut into pieces. So if you have a kid who has issues reading, where big books of history would be difficult, or big blocks of text would be difficult, these are fantastic because it breaks it up. And again, it gives it in a series of events, and it's in first person. So these are great. If you're homeschooling and wanting to, and teaching literature how to write in first person, these are a great book to use because that's what that's what this is, and the entire series is. I'll probably cover a couple more of these throughout the year. So that is it for this review. If you like what you see, be sure to like and subscribe. I'll be continuing with African American history. I'll try to get a little bit closer to Cecile and Grace's time periods, but I have a limited amount of stuff. So things available to me. So nonetheless, if you like what you see, be sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Thank you.